Hi,
Hi.
everybody. Welcome. Thank you for clicking on Simply Tanika. I am Tanika, and
Shamika.
this is Shamika Matos, my doula. And as promised, she is here to answer your questions. If the dogs will let us have peace. Okay, come up here. Come on. One of them, both of them. Can you guys put a one in the chat if you can hear me? Isaiah, AK. Uh, can you guys? Isaiah 61. Can you guys drop a one in the chat if you can hear me okay? Let me make sure. Okay. Thank you, ladies. How is everybody doing? I hope you all are well. Will you let us know so Shamika knows where you guys are coming in from? I know some of you guys are in New York, some of you are in California. Sometimes we have South Africa, UK, Canada, wherever you're coming in from. Thank you, BU Now. Thank you, Isaiah 60, PO, Uju. We appreciate you. Hey, Tamika TTC, how are you? This is Shamika. We got a Shamika, a Tamika,
And
and
a
a Tanika.
Tanika. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're gonna answer some of your questions. We're also gonna record my birth story, I believe today or maybe another day. We'll see how long this live goes. But she's excited to be here and answer your questions. She's got Sugar Bear across her lap because he did not want to stay in his snuggle me. Um, and he spit up on her a few times. God bless.
I got a blessing.
Yes. Oh my God. So do you want to tell them a little bit about yourself?
So, I am a mom of three. I have three boys, Owen, Logan, and Noah, ages 22, soon to be 13, and soon to be 6. I've been a doula for a little over a year now. Um, I've loved every bit of it. It has been extremely transformative in my life, and I'm excited for what the future holds. I'm extremely excited to have met Tanika and her introducing this world of YouTube and lives and, interacting with people to me because this is not my comfortable space. So I'm nervous for
It's all
sure.
fam here. It's all fam. Does delivering the babies, because you have three boys, does it give you baby fever? Or are you like, I'm
Oh my
done?
God, all the time. All the time. I am working on tactics every day trying to convince my husband to give it another go because I want a daughter so bad. I named my business Coco's Embrace because that was supposed to be my daughter's name, Cosette. I was supposed to name my daughter after my mother. And since it doesn't look like there's a daughter in my future, my business will be my daughter. My business will be uh, the next life that I am helping to build and grow. And so that gives me lots of excitement. But yes, being around babies gives me lots of baby fever all the time. I want to kiss them and snuggle them, but they not mine.
Oh my God. He gives me baby fever and he's still a baby. I'm like, oh, I got to do it one more time. Okay, so I'm also going to put on the screen Shamika's information. It's both her IG and her Cash App if you want to hook her up. She is volunteering her time today, which I greatly appreciate. So yeah, I think a lot of people ask, what is a doula? Like, what is a doula?
So a doula is a support person. There's many types of doulas. There's birth doulas, postpartum doulas. Um, I like to call lactation professionals boob doulas or chest doulas. There's end of life doulas. There are health doulas. There's lots of doulas out there. Sex doulas. There's so many out there, but it's really the gist of it. It's a support person, someone who is on the journey with you, helps you to figure things out, helps you to express yourself, helps you to understand everything that's going on. It's really just a support person.
Awesome. Okay. And the ladies are chiming in where they're from. So we have Toronto, we have someone in New York, Dallas, North Carolina. Tamika, you're in Palm Springs. Hey.
Hey, Toronto. Hey, Dallas. Hey, Palm Springs.
Yes.
Hey, New York.
So yeah, there we go. Atlanta. Yes. Hey, Jamaican Beauty. I'm glad you caught us live. PEI in Canada.
Ooh, Canada.
Hey, BU Now. So yeah. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Okay, so a doula is a support person.
Mhm.
Definitely, I appreciated the support during my labor. It is. There's a lot of things going on. I think especially for single moms by choice. Even if you have like your family and your birth partner, I highly, highly, highly recommend a doula. Even though I had a C-section, I was still in the hospital for 2 days before I had the C-section, and Shamika spent the night with me, which was great.
A lot of people feel like, especially if they're going to have a scheduled C-section, they feel like, what's the point of having a doula if they're going to have a C-section, right?
Right.
Because they think that the doula just supports through labor and delivery. But a doula can be extremely beneficial when preparing for a C-section. One, to help you get your ducks in a row for recovery after the C-section, right?
Right.
They also are really beneficial when you're there with the doctor to help you understand everything that the doctor is saying, and also help you to make sure that all of your questions are answered. They're there to hold space for you so that you feel like the decision you're making is truly your own, and you're comfortable with the decision. You have everything that you need and you're ready to go forth. It can be very scary knowing that you're about to have a C-section. So
Yeah.
having someone there to make you feel like you've crossed all of your T's and dotted all your I's can be very beneficial.
Okay. Yeah, I think even though, like, in my mind, I'm having a third child, and I know it would be a C-section because of timing. I would definitely want a doula, and I think I would even want like postpartum care in the hospital because I didn't know what I was in for after a C-section in the hospital. Like to have that support would have been nice because I felt like I don't want to say it was me against all the doctors, but it was like me against the world. Like even though like my sister was there that first day, it's just a lot of different information and stuff going on. And I knew like I wanted to get up and walk right away because I wanted to have him in the room with me. So we had to take, the catheter out and go up and get up and go to the bathroom and all that. So I definitely like see the value in that. And you cut his umbilical cord. Like I felt like that was good because I'm an energy person. And so like I didn't want, strangers in there. Like, I just was like, I don't know who they are, what their vibe is. So that was good too. It's just like having someone on your side to advocate for you, like someone who's in the room with you, for you. Not that the doctors were against me.
Like family. It's like having a friend. It's having someone who is there for you, not for anyone else.
Right.
Who wants the absolute best for you, not just in this moment, but every moment thereafter.
Right. It was very like relieving. I'm starring some of the questions. Keep them coming. We're going to get to them. I also see New Jersey, Shar, Jamaica, but stuck in Florida for the minute.
I'll be in Florida in December. I'm really excited. It's my first vacation in almost 2 years.
And then Jamaican Beauty, I'm not sure what that means. 34 plus 4 pregnant IVF. Are you 34? Are you 34 weeks pregnant? Tell me what that means, sis. When should I start looking? Okay, so I'm going to go. Let's first talk about how does one find a doula, and then let's go into the questions that everybody has.
Okay. I will tell you that a lot of my clients, because I don't promote my business like a lot yet because I'm still getting my feet off the ground, but a lot of people find doulas through agencies. If you wanted to find a doula where you didn't pay an agency fee and you wanted all of the money to go to the doula, you can ask your OB, you can ask your midwife, you can ask a prenatal yogi, you can ask a pelvic floor therapist, you can ask other pregnant people. You can ask, there's lots of people that will give you referrals for doulas if they're in the birth world. Okay. So you just gotta, I know massage therapists, prenatal massage therapists, anybody in the prenatal world that does that work can direct you to 1 or 2 doulas. Because we all work together. And lots of doulas wear many hats, right? Lots of doulas are lactation professionals. They are massage therapists. They are yogis. They are personal trainers. So,
right. Okay. You know what? I wonder now if my fertility acupuncturist would have. I didn't know. So I found Shamika through an agency, which I think I vlogged about it, like back in December when I had that big printout, and they sent me the names. But yeah. So typically, like, what is the process like? So, like, I connected through the agency with you. And then we had the meeting to go over things? Like typically, I don't know if mine was typical or not, but
Mhm.
what is that usually like for interviewing a doula?
So if you find a doula through the agency, what usually happens is they'll match you to a bunch of doulas, and those doulas will reach out to you and try to schedule appointments. So you may interview 2, 5. I know some people interview 10 doulas. It's really about like what your bandwidth is and what you're comfortable with. But you set up interviews to basically see what their vibe is. You see what type of questions they ask you, have some questions of your own. I feel like a good doula will give you everything, like without you even having to ask. They should be able to anticipate the questions that you'll have. I feel like that's a well prepared doula. And um, some of the questions that you could ask a doula is just more about like why they chose to get into this field, right? What motivates them? What's their passion? What drives them? Why they're doing this type of work, and that can help you find a vibe with them. Now, if you find a private doula, right, or a doula through a recommendation, then that might be the only doula you interview, or it might only be one or two, and so it might be much easier to weed through them to see who you like. But it's very much a vibe, right? A vibe is super important. Like you have to be comfortable with the doula being in the room with you because they about to see everything, all your bits.
Oh,
They gonna
yes.
see everything, right? And so you want to feel comfortable. You want to feel safe in their hands. You want to feel like they have your back. And that's what I strive to do at the very least with everyone that I meet. I feel like everyone deserves a doula. I don't cut anyone out. Like I don't say, "Oh, that's not my type of person." I don't look at it that way. I look at it as like I don't know them, very well. So like even though it may not be a good vibe in that moment,
Hmm.
they could be nervous, right? They could have anxiety, they could have things going on. So I give of myself no matter what. And if they want to hire me, then they felt something really good about it, and so I will feel something good about it.
Right. Okay. So do you recommend that people interview more than one doula?
Oh,
Or like, okay.
absolutely. And start early, right? Because you may have to interview quite a bit, right? You want to find the one that matches your soul, right?
Right.
That feels
Yeah.
like your sister, that feels like your best friend, that feels like your mother, right? Somebody that feels close to you, that will show up for you in the way that those people would, except that this person has a whole lot more knowledge and experience in the birth world. They know what you can say yes and no to when you're in the hospital.
Right. Okay. Now, when you say start early, like how early is too early? Like as soon as I
It's
get a
never too
positive?
early.
Okay.
It's honestly is never too early. So the way that I work with people who hire me very early is I do monthly check-ins. I call them wellness checks.
Okay.
So if you hire me and you're only like 12 weeks pregnant, then what I do is I might get that first prenatal done right out the way so that I have an idea of what your birth preferences are, like what your goals are for yourself. And during that time, every month I schedule a video call with you because I want to see your face, right? I feel like that builds the connection. It builds that friendship level, right?
Right.
Instead of texting and talking on the phone, seeing a person is really beneficial. So I do the wellness call, and we could talk about anything, right?
Right.
We could talk about the prenatal visits. We could talk about your hopes and dreams. We could talk about what's going on at work. We could talk about your husband, your baby father. We could talk about your mother. We could talk about whatever, right? Ooh,
Sugar
bless you.
bears.
Listen, I'm just happy he's sleeping
Oh
and he's
God.
at peace. So
What
yeah,
about symptoms? Can we talk about symptoms or things to expect? Do you go over that with people? Okay.
absolutely, right? And I always tell my clients that I don't claim to know everything, right?
Right.
So if somebody comes to me and they're like, "Oh, this is going on," I'll look it up for them, right? And I'll get as much information as I possibly can and present it to them in a digestible way so that they're not overwhelmed, right? I remember the first time that I heard about varicose veins in the vulva. I was like, what in the world is
I have
that?
never heard of that. Okay.
Yeah, like I had to look that up and like, okay, you're going through this. All right, now let's figure out a way to support you, right? Let's figure out how we can make this manageable for you. So that's one of the things that I do like during prenatal care. Even though we have like our 2 prenatal visits, I'm still like there to hold your hand
Right.
that whole step.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's why it's good to hire early.
Right. And you are definitely solution oriented because I remember, I think when I had when the baby was breech at one point and
Mm-hmm.
you were like, do this, do this. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Doctor said not worry about it till I'm 34 weeks. Should I be worried? Like, because my anxiety, I'm like, I can do
Mm-hmm.
all these things, but do I have to do them? And then he flipped back around. But I loved it that you took the initiative. You're like, here are the options to like solve
Yeah.
this. Very proactive. So that was good too. I'm going to ask everybody to do all the YouTube things. If you could hit like while you're in here, that lets other people know that we're live so they can come and ask Shamika questions. If you're on the replay crew, please drop a blue heart down in the comments below so that we know that you came by. And if you guys have questions, maybe like in the first 24 hours, Shamika can check the comments if you're on the replay
Mm-hmm.
and she can respond there if we don't cover what you have. But yeah, thank you all for being here. Okay, let's go through some of these questions. Let's see. Let me go back to the comments. The ones I've starred, some of them, we'll get to them. I'm going to start with Tamika's. As a SMBC, a single mom by choice, that had a scheduled C-section, I found my doula incredibly helpful in making birth plans both ways, labor and OR, being my advocate in the OR, and also saying all the right things. That's good. Okay. So you had the scheduled. So have you had that yet where you had someone? Didn't I tell you not to start
Yes.
barking?
I had someone that I support. So when I have a client that is going to have a scheduled C-section, right? The first thing that I offer is, would you like me to be there with you when you have that appointment with the doctor to talk about preparation for it? If they would like that, then I show up for that, or on video call, whatever they're comfortable, whatever makes them comfortable. And then I'm at the hospital because usually they only let one person in, right? So like their
Okay.
significant other or whoever their primary support person will be in the OR with them. I've had the experience of one hospital allowing me in the room with their primary significant other, and that's because she had a very traumatic first C-section, which was an emergency. And so it was very important to her that her doula be in the room, and we had to advocate really hard for that. But she got what she wanted, and that was a blessing. But if I can't be in the OR, then I'm there in the waiting room, so that as soon as you come out of the OR, my goal is to help you with lactation. If your goal is to breastfeed, right? If your goal is not to breastfeed, then it's really just holding space for you. But if your goal is to breastfeed, then my primary, I feel like it's like the most important thing is to get there and help either latch the baby on or start hand expressing milk, so that colostrum, let me say that correctly, start hand expressing colostrum so that you are priming your breast to be ready to make as much milk as you need when it does transition. A lot of women don't understand how important it is that that first hand expression, that first release of milk is signaling your body that the baby is here and the baby needs this.
Is that especially, or is that, I don't want to say especially so, but is that as important when or more important when you're doing a C-section? Because I feel like the body doesn't necessarily recognize right away that you've given birth.
I feel like it is more important when you have a C-section because that's when you're like the most tired. You're coming off of a lot of that heavy medication. The baby is super heavy laying on your abdomen. So putting the baby on you can be like, unfortunately, a physical burden, right? You want him or you want her so bad to be next to you, but it could just be physically impossible. The pain could just be too much. So having someone there who can comfortably, and professionally help you hand express your milk, right, can be very beneficial.
Okay. Very cool. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? My raisins one. How do you feel about older women having children so late in life?
I mean, I'm here for it. It's not my place to judge. I feel like whatever you want to do with your body, you should be able to do with your body, right? Whatever you want to do with your life, you should be able to do with your life. I don't have an opinion about it. I feel like it's a blessing, right? The fact that science is even there for something like that to happen is amazing. Whether you do it, the old fashioned way or with help, it doesn't matter. I feel like the stars align the way that they're supposed to align. So if it's for you, it's going to be for you.
Okay. Let's see, what else do we have here? Jamaican Beauty. I asked my insurance if they covered doula, but they didn't even know what I was talking. But they didn't even know what I was talking about, so I'm assuming it's always out of pocket. Oh, that's a good question. Do some insurances cover the cost of a doula?
Yes. So what happens is doula coverage is something that's still gaining traction across the United States. I don't know about in other countries, but definitely across the United States.
Okay.
Insurance companies are requiring that doulas be certified in order for that coverage to happen. Unfortunately, there isn't one certifying body that governs all of that. So Joe Schmo truthfully can open up a doula agency and start certifying folks. Thankfully, a lot of places, and that's why like a lot of doulas are not certified, right? Like typically a lot of doulas did not get certified because they just didn't like the idea of people governing such a sacred position, such a sacred job, right? But now that a lot of insurance agencies, especially in New York, are covering certified doulas, you're finding more and more doulas getting certified.
Okay. And then you had said before you have community clients too, right? So
Yeah.
that they are getting coverage, I guess, through insurance or some way. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So in New York City, there is a program called the Citywide Doula Initiative, and the city pays doulas to provide support to people who are on Medicaid or living in shelters or victims of domestic violence or live in underprivileged neighborhoods. And so they can still get access to a doula even though they can't afford it. And so I'm also a community-based doula. I am a CDI doula, and I provide support to moms who may not be able to afford it on their own.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
I thank you so much for putting my Cash App, because a lot of times those types of donations can go towards moms who are from another country, right? Like moms that come over the undocumented, and so they may not have Medicaid. They may not have those types of resources in order to qualify for CDI. And that type of money can supplement doula support for them.
Okay. Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just a misperception, but before you told me about the community clients, I just thought like, because from what I understand, people are paying out of pocket. So I didn't think it was accessible to everybody. So I'm glad at least that we have it in New York. Hopefully they have it in other states. If you guys know if they have it in your state, drop it in the comments. But I think that's a beautiful thing, because like I would have loved to have that when I had Cheyenne, you know, like I was on, Medi-Cal, whatever it is in California. But yeah, and I definitely couldn't have afforded it out of pocket, but I would have loved to have had a doula. Like literally her dad was watching a game on TV while I'm like in pain and you know what I mean? Like just checked out. I'm like, okay. So it would have been nice. It was very intimidating. I was 23 years old and it was quite scary. I've put her Cash App back up on the screen. So hopefully if you guys are able, you can show a little love there. Help out the other women. So Maria Lorenzo, having my first grandbaby in November, my daughter asked me to be in the room with her. Is a true honor. Never knew about doulas till Shamika told me about it. Oh, nice. So are you going to be her birth partner? That's exciting. Oh my goodness. My mom would never do that. Bless you. She would never, ever. Shar, have you found that there's an increase in the demand for doulas, particularly by people of color or the LGBTQ community, because they want an additional advocate in the medical space?
Absolutely. There definitely is, especially with the, maternal mortality rate being so high. You're finding a lot more of that. And a lot of times they want someone that looks like them, right? Historically, the doula world was dominated by white faces, and now there's a lot more black and brown faces available to support black and brown faces. I know that before I became a doula, I really thought that was like something that white people did. Like it was a misconception, truthfully.
Right.
And I thought that it was something that had to do with like sage and crystals and like the phases of the moon, right? Like I didn't think that was something that was for me or could be done by me. And when I took the training, I learned a lot. Okay. And that, truthfully, anyone can be a doula if you can stomach birth juices and all the stuff like that, right? And if you have a nurturing spirit, right? Anyone can be a doula. Mom in the labor and delivery room can be a doula. The biggest thing about being a doula is showing up for that person and putting your own feelings to the side, putting your own trauma, putting your own beliefs, putting your own ideas of what's right and wrong, putting that to the side and just showing up for the person that needs you the most in the ways that they need you.
Right. And you mentioned putting aside your own trauma. If your clients have trauma, do you encourage them to discuss that with you? Do you manage any of that?
I don't force it, right?
Okay.
Because I'm not comfortable with that. I don't like to pigeonhole. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Maybe it's not pigeonhole. I don't know. But
I think so.
I don't like to force anybody into a corner, right? Like, you got to talk about that stuff when you're ready to talk about it. But I do try to create space so that if they wanted to, they know that they have an unjudgmental ear. I often talk about my own, like, past traumas just as a like an outlet. Like, I create a door for them to say, if you want to come through this door with me, it's available to you.
Okay.
Right? Because I've been there, I've done that, I've experienced it too. And if you're experiencing it, it's not unnormal, right? There's nothing wrong with you.
Right.
And you have somebody in me to talk to about it. And then I leave it like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. I think too, like, that was part of from my first birth, I had the trauma of, like, the doctor doing something without my consent. And so I definitely didn't want that to happen again. And so I think having a doula facilitates that. Like, hopefully I have my voice and I can do that, but just as a backup, just in case in that moment, you know, like when I told you I didn't want the people touching my breast, I'm an energy person. So if the person had the right energy, it's fine. But I don't know that going in, so I just say no. And then if they ask again and I vibe with them, I'm like, yes, but it was already in my birth plan, so it shouldn't have been, like, weird. You know what I mean? So I just felt empowered in that way.
Yeah.
But I remember the pediatrician was like, well, why? And I was like, what? Why would you ask? I was like, because I don't want it. And so, like, that became a thing for her. But it was like, she also, there's a whole other story with her. I won't get into it. But it was like, she didn't realize I had agency. You're right. Yeah. This is my body. Like, I don't have to explain to you why I don't want them touching me. Like, period.
And that's what having a doula in the room helps with as well. Right? It's to teach not only the doctors, the pediatricians, the nurses, but all of the medical professionals that, like, this person here is not beholden to you. Right. They chose you to support them in their birth. Right. It's not your way. Right. You have to respect this person, and they don't owe you anything, right? You didn't owe her an explanation. Not at all. Why. And so they need to understand that and learn that. And of course, the most professional way, right? Yes. The most amicable way, right? So that you don't burn bridges. But they have to understand that, like, they are also servants of you. Right. They just get paid way more. Right. But they are there to provide a service. Yes. I will say there's a book called The Power of No, if you guys are interested. If you have a hard time saying no, no is a whole sentence all by itself. No, period. You don't have to explain. But anyway, and then that reminds me of creating the birth plan. So we did that ahead of time, which felt really good. Like, I wasn't sure what it would be like, but checking into the hospital, giving it, like, when they put me in the room, I was like, because I went the night before, I was like, I have a birth plan. Who do I give it to? And the nurse was like, oh, I'll take it. And then everybody who came in the room had read the birth plan. So that just felt good because I felt like my wishes were known. You know what I mean? By everyone. I don't have to keep saying it over and over again. Do you recommend, like, women start thinking about their birth plan before they meet with you? Or, like, how do you go? What's that process like? I do a birth plan with everyone no matter what. Even if they want to make their own, I still give them a template to make sure that they fill in any blanks that they may have. A birth plan is a great way to open up your mind to all of your rights, right? Right. Everything that is truly available to you. I had a lot of, like, older clients or, like, moms that are, like, often like, I didn't know I could do that, right? I could do that. I could say that. Yes, you can, right? But what if the doctor, they said, no, I can't. And then that's when I have to explain to them about, evidence-based research and how these things are just so much more beneficial to them if they advocate for these things. Right. And that's empowering. That's very empowering. And then there are times when you go to the hospital and they refuse to read your birth plan. And so a doula will create space, right? To say, my client would like to take a minute to go over the birth plan with you. Okay. Did you have a minute to read it? Oh, you haven't? That's okay. We can do it together. Right. Right? Okay. You force them to respect who you are and what's important to you. Right. Right? And if they say, oh, we can't do those things, you create the space to say the why. Right? Right.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I like that. And I think also it is like in the LGBTQ community, good to have a birth plan so you can explain like who's going to be called mom or mama or what, like to break the
Mm-hmm.
tension so people aren't saying anything like awkward or
Inappropriate.
inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
So then you create the space for the conversation, right? Of
Yes.
like, if they have a question, if it's not clear, but outlining just so people, because sometimes people are on eggshells about things. Like I even, because in my medical records it says I'm bisexual, so they have that before they even see the birth plan.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's no awkwardness because I think sometimes people are like, what? So
Mm-hmm.
it just like I think that also helps. And then like my cousin is becoming a doula, so I feel like more women of color are wanting to become
Yeah.
doulas to advocate. I mean, we know, right, in America, there's the highest infant mortality or maternal mortality rate for Black
Yeah.
women, and so that also I think is important to have somebody advocate for you, like what's going on. Um, and my doctors didn't do this, but sometimes doctors can talk down to you. And so I think also having the advocate in the room
Yeah.
helps, like
Yeah.
get into the conversation and like, let's break this down.
Yeah.
So you know what's going on.
And I get to professionally check the medical professional to be like, let's try this again. Right. Let's approach this differently, because both of these parents, right, regardless of how they identify or, you know, what their preferences are, they're here to raise this child and love this child, and they want the birthing person to be safe. Right. So let's give them that respect.
Right. And it's a memory they're going to have for the rest of their
Mm-hmm.
life. So you want that to be a positive, whether you're LGBTQ or hetero or however you identify.
Or Black or brown or Asian.
Yeah, you
speak
want
English,
that.
don't speak English, right?
Right.
You want to feel like the people who are entrusted to keep you safe and keep your baby safe are also caring and kind and empathetic and compassionate and respectful to who you are as a person.
Right.
And not just a medical record number.
Yeah. And I think, you know, like before I got into the whole TTC IVF journey, I did not know all the words. Not that I know all the words now, but I have a better understanding of just how my body works and able to have that conversation. But obviously when you're younger, I mean, it's a different generation, so maybe you all know, all the young people. I didn't know back then, and so it would have been nice to have a doula to like bridge that gap.
Yeah.
Just because it can be intimidating. I remember I didn't have the words when the doctor gave me the episiotomy without my consent, right? Like to understand fully that how I had been violated. I knew something was wrong, but it wasn't really until years later that I understood that. And there was, like I mentioned this before, a lot of people were like, oh, well, they were helping you. And I'm like, that's not the point. Like it's my body. I should have at least
awareness.
Being told like what's going to happen and why.
Mm-hmm.
So that I can consent to it. Because ultimately it's my decision whether I want to be cut or whether I want to be ripped. You know what I mean? Like, because they can't guarantee you'll be ripped or not. So anyway, I just feel like having someone in the room, it helps. And also like to do a check-in. Like, as you were like, how are you feeling? What's going on? So just to like help center and just calm everything. Because it can get a little overwhelming. Like people running in and out. Like, nurses in every 5 minutes. I mean, not every 5, but you know, it's a lot of nurses in and out. So that helps as well.
And unfortunately, everyone with their own agenda.
Right.
Trying to convince you to do things their way because they feel like their way is the best.
Right. Isaiah, I think we answered that. When should I start looking? Never too early. And then, oh wait, we did that one too. Okay, let me go back to the main comments, unstar these and see if there's any more. Oh, thank you. Laura. Hey, Laura, how are you? What a doula is. Having a doula is such a blessing and should be an automatic service for each and every birth. I agree. I feel like in the U.S. that should be covered. I also feel like maternity leave should be like guaranteed for everybody. It's just
some hospitals have doulas on staff.
Oh, they do?
Like Methodist Hospital in Brooklyn has doulas on staff.
Okay.
For people who don't have their own doulas.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was interesting too because I felt like people received you differently as they were coming in and out of the room. Like you had the shirt that said doula on it, but some people were like, "Oh, great!" Like some of the nurses, and some of them were like, "Is she gonna give me a hard time?" Like they braced themselves. You know what I mean? Like I could feel their energy shift, and you were like, "Hey, how are you?" And they just like kind of chilled out. Yeah. But they definitely had their guard up. I don't know if that's because they had a bad experience or if they were like, "Oh, she's gonna check me."
Well, the thing is, in my training, you kind of get this idea that like as a doula, you have to come into the birth with a sword and shield, right?
Okay.
Like you have to come in ready to fight because of all of this injustice that has been going on historically, right? And you're like, I'm going to protect my client. I'm going to make sure nothing bad happens to them. And you come in and you're ready to fight.
Okay.
And I had to learn, truthfully, I had to learn that that's not good either,
Okay.
right? That the best way to do it is equip you with your own sword and shield. And my job is to remind you that you have it, right?
Okay.
So, like, that's where the advocacy comes in. But there are doulas that come in with their sword and shield and gun and grenade, and they come in wilding,
Okay.
right? Like, you can't do this and you ain't doing that. And it's like, that's not your role, right? You can't. You're making it harder, one, for the client, right? For the patient, because now there's all of this animosity and there's all of this tension in the room. But you're also making it harder for the other doulas that are coming in there, because now those doulas are not going to be received. I think it was during your birth, one of the nurses came to me and was like, yeah, there's these doulas that come in all dressed in white and they're burning sage through the room and laying crystals all around and blocking us from the clients and not letting us touch them and doing all of this stuff, and it makes it hard to work. So, like, it gives a bad taste or a bad rap to regular old people like me.
Right. I think that was the nurse that gave us the lavender scents who said that. But yeah, oh my God. Yeah, that's... So there is sage involved. Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
Did Shamika hear about the recent case with a doctor? Oh, okay, Patricia, we talked about that earlier. I'm going to start this. We're going to talk about it at the end because I want to give a trigger warning for anybody who's pregnant that they should not listen to that one. But yeah. Okay. Let's see. That's because New York State has an initiative for Black mothers to receive a doula if they want. Okay, nice. Is it only Black doulas that they have that for, or is
no?
It,
everyone, anyone can be a
Black
community
mothers.
doula.
Okay,
yeah, anyone can be a community doula. You have to go through a specific training to be a community doula because it takes a more gentler approach. Because a lot of people who are coming looking for a doula from that realm come with a lot of trauma.
Okay.
And so you need a lot of trauma training in order to be able to show up
okay.
for folks like that. And not everybody, right? Not everybody who comes and is on Medicaid have those types of experiences, but you do encounter a lot.
Right.
Like, especially if like you're supporting people who are in the shelter system or, you know.
Wow.
So like you have to be very trauma informed. So there's special trainings for that. But anyone who takes that training and wants to service the community absolutely can. Okay. And anyone can get that service as long as they qualify it. So you could be white, you could be Asian, you could be Hispanic, you could be Black. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
If you have Medicaid or you're in the shelter system or, you know, you live in one of the zip codes that, you know, is a low income neighborhood, then your chances of qualifying for a community-based doula is much higher.
Oh, wow. So how are the women notified of that? Like, does someone contact them? They just have to know?
Truthfully, it's harder. They have to ask. It's better if they ask their social workers. Can I get more information on the doula programs that the city funds, right? But it's not pushed hard enough.
Okay.
Because a lot of times, I don't know, it's my own opinion, but I feel like a lot of times medical professionals don't want the doula in the room or like don't want to like push the doula or say, I think you should have a doula or you should get a doula because it's just another person to manage the way that they see it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now, they play nice, right? Like when the doula's in the room.
Right.
But I think they would rather it just not be, because it's like now I have to explain things further and it makes the job a little bit more difficult, especially if you go into like a city hospital. A city hospital that's dealing with a lot of poor, uneducated folks. Okay. They don't be wanting to do the extra work, and it's unfortunate.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So I would say speak to your social worker, and you can also look it up. You can look it up on the government website. We will, I guess, put it up another time, but like you can look it up to say like, this is the zip code that I live in. I would like to have a consultation with a community-based doula.
Okay. I can put it in the description box when we're done with this, and you guys can look for it there. So let's see. Isaiah 60. So your doula can go to your appointments with you. Do you go to like prenatal appointments?
If they wanted me to. So like, here's the thing, right? Like, it's a job that I'm getting paid for, right? So, like, if you hire me really early, I can't do everything for the low cost that I charge, right? So, if you wanted one of your prenatal visits to be a visit with you to the doctor's office, absolutely.
Okay.
When it comes to community-based clients, that's definitely something that we offer, because a lot of times they don't even understand what's going on when the doctor's talking to them, right?
Okay.
So it is something that we offer, because community-based clients get 3 prenatal visits. So I'm able to do everything that I would normally do with you, and then there's also that one more prenatal visit.
Okay.
So, like, they have the option to be like, come with me to, a mommy and me event, or come with me to a community baby shower, or come with me to a prenatal visit so I can speak to my doctor, right?
Okay.
I have those options, and they don't know that they have these options. So I offer it to them, right? Like, this is something else that we can do to help prepare you.
Oh my goodness.
It's much easier, though. What a doula can do is be on a video conference call with you with your doctor. So they may not be able to go with you to your doctor's office, but just like, if you went to the doctor with your spouse, if you went to the doctor and your spouse couldn't make it, and you're like, I want to put my spouse on a video call, they'll be okay with it. You can do that with your doula as well.
Okay, nice. Course correction. Hey, course correction, how are you? Is there anything we can do to advocate for our insurance plans to cover doulas, including postpartum? I think it depends on your insurance. Like, if it's your employer insurance, if it is your employer sponsored insurance, you can talk to your employer about it, right? Like your HR department or your benefits department, and tell them that you would like that as a benefit.
The union too. Like, if it's a unionized job, you can ask the union to advocate for something like that in your union benefits, that the insurance covers that. You can create a petition with all of the families. So not just the mothers, but some of the fathers too. Think about it. If the father didn't have to pay for the doula and the insurance would, they'd be more like, okay, yes, I'm going to advocate for this for my spouse, or the wife, right? Like the family unit.
Right.
There's oftentimes 2 units in the family, 2 parents. So if both parents advocated for something like this, it's a win-win for both of them.
Right.
So if everyone in the job said, this is what we want, this is a benefit, it might be a lot easier to get it to happen.
Yeah, just like a lot of employers are offering like fertility benefits now, right? Mm-hmm. It's a thing to attract and retain top talent. So definitely talk to your HR department and see, or your union, and see like what's going on. This says, thank you so much for this. It's truly enlightening. Oh, yay. Thanks for coming and showing up. Please hit the like button. California Medicaid covers doulas. Oh, nice. So in 1994, they did not, but that's good to know that they do now. That's good. California is pretty pro-consumer, so that doesn't surprise me. But yeah, that's good to know. Okay, I'm just going to go back and see if I left off any... if there's anything else.
One question that I often get from people is, most hospitals only allow 2 support people in the room, right? And so the question is, well, I really want my mom and I really want my significant other in the room. How can I have a doula, right? Like, I don't want my mom to miss this, or my sister, or someone in their family that's super significant. And I would say you still can benefit from having a doula support you. The doula can support you virtually the day of your labor and delivery, or they could swap out. So the 3 people could swap out at any point if the hospital allows it, right? So that you still have 3 people supporting you, but every now and again, one swaps out for the other person to come in. I definitely recommend that you hire a doula, even though you plan to have both, 2 support partner slots occupied.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Luckily, they didn't have a limit for us, but I did tell the MFM early on that I wanted to have a doula. So they were prepared. She kind of raised her eyebrows, but she was like, "That's fine." I imagine, like, because it's at the Mother Center and it's already like it's supposed to be a safe space. There's probably not a lot of doulas that come in there. I don't know. I just feel like the doctors are suspicious of doulas. That was just the vibe I was getting.
Yeah. It's another person to manage, unfortunately.
How do you balance, this is from Shar, how do you balance your role in supporting the pregnant person without stepping on toes if you're working with a couple? Oh, that's interesting.
I involve them a lot. So I constantly remind couples that their touch raises oxytocin way more than my touch because that person loves you, right? So like if I just came in and hugged you and kissed you on your neck, that would not raise your oxytocin levels. You'd be like, girl, what are you doing? Get off me.
But the partner
but
would.
the partner would.
Okay.
And so you need a huge surge of oxytocin to help with labor and delivery. So I always strategically put the hospital chair closer to the bed so that when they go to the bathroom, they come back, they happen to be closer to their partner, right?
Okay.
Or if I'm rubbing one leg, I tell them, can you come over here and rub the other leg, right?
Okay.
While I'm standing in front of them, can you lean behind them,
Okay.
right? Like I always get them involved. That's if that's something that they want, right? If it's not something that they want, I don't judge, right? Like if I supported a mom do a completely unmedicated birth and the dad slept in the bed the whole time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it didn't bother me at all because to me, at the end of the day, if she felt supported and she reached her goal, that's what that matters.
Okay. That makes sense. So what about like if they have, so like if Shar had one opinion on it and her wife had another opinion on like how the birth was going to go, how do you manage that before you get into the hospital? Okay.
Yes.
What does that look like?
So it's a lot of education. So I definitely encourage childbirth education, right?
Okay.
It's very important. And I also like try to remind constantly whose body it is, right? Like that's very important. Like the space that you're coming from is very protective and that's important, but you also have to trust this person that they may know their body better than you do. Okay. So like give space for that. Trust the process. And I remind them constantly, this is your first step into parenthood, right? Right. You can't go into parenthood constantly on opposite sides.
No.
So you have to practice starting from now to agree to disagree, bend for each other, give each other grace. It is hard. That's the hardest thing I would say. Supporting couples that are arguing and bickering the whole time that I'm supporting them because ain't no oxytocin in that room.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God. That would be stressful. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But the birthing person still needs the support.
Right.
The birthing person still needs the respect and the care. So you just do the best that you can and find ways to get them both to be okay.
Gotcha. Okay. And then Shar has another question. You want your partner to be helpful, but if they simply don't know, example, massage techniques, then is it best the doula steps in or do we work with educating the partner?
Yeah, you work with educating. It doesn't have to be like a deep tissue massage. It just has to be loving touch, truthfully, right? They don't have to reach certain pressure points. It's really just you getting that energy from your partner that believes in you, right? Believes that you can do this. You're getting a lot of positive energy from your partner. So I always remind the partners to do a lot of reassuring, right? If anything comes up for them that's negative, like maybe they're scared, they're nervous, they're stressed, they don't understand what's going on, come talk to me privately. Send me a private text and we'll chat right there on the bed while the mom is sleeping or while the birthing person is sleeping, right? Let's manage that together so that that energy doesn't affect the birthing person, right? But it's a lot of like I show up for both of them. I always tell them I'm not just the birthing person's doula. I'm the supportive parent's doula as well. And if mom is in the room, I'm her doula as well because she got a lot of her own emotions to deal with, right? Watching her baby go through all of this, it can be very difficult. So I take on the role as a family doula. I am everyone's doula.
Do you ever have an interview with like both partners when they're looking for a doula?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I encourage it. So, and I oftentimes offer follow-up consultations. So like if the partner couldn't make it to the first one, I always say to them, if you need a second one, because that person will seal the deal, I'm happy to do it.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. And then what about, because we talked a little bit about like IVF patients versus if people naturally conceive, because obviously this is the TTC community. It's like people who have been trying and trying. Like what is the difference that you notice between like IVF patients and like a younger patient who just got pregnant naturally?
So I've noticed that when it comes to IVF clients, they have a lot more trust in their medical provider than a regular client, right? And so I even learned that with you, right? Like I don't have to gear you up to combat your doctor because you have trust in your doctor, right? And so I have to respect that level of trust because they've been trying so hard to have their take-home baby, right?
Right.
There's been so much trauma and so much loss behind it that for them, laboring naturally is not that big of a deal, right? For them, getting to eat while they're in labor is not that big of a deal. For them, the type of music that they play and having fairy lights strung across the room is not that big of a deal.
Oh, some people have fairy lights?
I'm working on it. I gotta get me some. But I have to learn to like put on a different hat now, right? Like that's not the role. I'm not wearing this huge advocacy hat this time. Here, I'm just there to constantly remind them that they're going to be okay.
Right.
Baby's going to be okay. And that you can celebrate now, right? Like all of this stress and all of this worry that you've been holding in these last 40 weeks, you can let that go.
Right.
Because this baby's about to be in your arms soon. And you can say, I release you. I'm ready for you to be outside of my body and into my arms. So it's a lot of therapeutic work.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. I had 3 kids, but all C-section and have no idea what to expect. Are you about to? Because of your daughter. Sorry. Oh yeah. Okay. Just be there. Just be present. I don't think you can expect any one thing because each birth is so
I would
different.
say if it's going to be just you and your daughter, hire a doula. Definitely. And if it's going to be you, your daughter, and her husband or partner, still hire a doula. The doula will still prepare all of you for how to show up for each other. Even if the doula can't be in the birth room. Yeah, it's awesome to be in the birthing room. That's the piece de resistance. But at the end of the day, you want the person who hired you to be fully supported and prepared and ready to do this. So if I was hired, right, and I've done this, I've supported a 3-family unit, husband, wife, and mom. I offered my virtual services. If at any point during the labor process you wanted to be on a video call with me, that's fine. I did the monthly checks in with them because they hired me very early.
Okay.
I checked in with them constantly. We dealt with gestational diabetes scares.
Ooh,
we dealt with mom just being absolutely done with pregnancy, but grandma having a different agenda for her and wanting her to do everything all natural because she didn't get to do it, right? God. So like you just create space for everybody so that everybody could be heard and constantly remind them that this is the birthing person's experience.
Right.
And you have to put those feelings aside and show up for her. And if I ever need it, I'm just a phone call away.
Okay.
So we did a lot of prep work.
Nice. Okay. Jamaican Beauty, you're 34 weeks. Congratulations.
Congrats.
Looked into a doula, but insurance didn't cover. Okay. Yeah, we gotta.
You could also find like a low-cost doula, right? There's low-cost doulas. There's doulas that do community-based work, or a lot of options too is like half the stuff that's on your baby registry you probably don't even need. So the people who's hosting your baby registry, have them do like I don't know, like an auction or a lottery or a raffle or a collection boot, right, for your doula.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. I like that.
There's lots of new doulas that need the work and will do it for low cost or pro bono because they need the experience. And I would say me being a brand new doula, I was so eager to like just be the best that I possibly could be. Okay. That like you could find a newer doula for less money who will show out for you because they're passionate about this work. You just got to interview them and find the one that more aligns with your spirit.
That makes sense. And they're carers too. I think when push comes to shove, like if there's a middle to be reached so that you can have a doula, I think that work with you. If you get the right doula, I think that work with you. So Jamaican Beauty also asks, what training does doula have, or what training does whatever. Yes. Is it just support, or can they advocate if the patient can't advocate for themselves medically?
So if it's like, say if it was just me and Tanika, right? The way that I would have had to advocate for you if you were not physically or verbally advocate for yourself was constantly pushing the birth agenda, right? Okay. Explaining that to them. but also having your proxy on call, right? That's very important. Whoever your healthcare proxy
Okay.
is very important, because at the end of the day, I can't make decisions for your health, right?
Right.
It's not my say. So we have to get the healthcare proxy involved.
Okay.
Right? Now, let's say worst case scenario, and the only way that I would see this would be like a community-based client, right?
Okay.
They had no family. They had no one to make this advocacy for them. Then I wouldn't come in as the doula. I would come in as their friend. And now, as their friend, this is what I'm saying. I'm their primary support person.
Okay.
I'm not wearing the doula hat. I'm there to protect this person at all costs.
Okay. Gotcha. Oh, wow. What about if people have like mental deficiencies? I don't know what the PC word is.
That is
like,
so hard.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. I supported someone like that, and it was very rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very rewarding. But in the moment, extremely difficult.
Okay.
Because you have to advocate for them a lot and constantly remind everyone, this is what's going on with them. These are their diagnoses. I need you to give grace. I need you to be understanding. I need you to see why they are acting like this, why this is important to them.
Right. Okay.
So it's a lot of like reminding and like supportive. So like with this one, she put her complete trust in me. It almost scared me to death, because I'm like, am I equipped to have such a major responsibility? Right. But also so equally honored to be able to be there for her in that way. And oh my God, her baby is so beautiful. Oh, like a little doll.
Nice. Okay. Oh wait, what was the other question? What training do? Oh wait, we did that.
Trainings. No, we didn't talk about trainings.
Okay.
So old school doulas didn't really get much training.
Really?
Right? No, because there weren't trainings back then. They just jumped into the world and made a business out of it until someone made a training. Okay. Right? So yes, I got a training. I got a training through Dona International. It was a company that taught with that affiliation. Okay. So the company itself was not Dona International, but they had a Dona International trained person. Now, Dona International is a certifying body for doulas, one of many. There's lots of them. But Dona is pretty much known nationwide as DONA. And my training was a 5-day intensive training. Okay. I'll tell you, I cried at least 4 out of those 5 days. But it was a cathartic cry. Okay. Like, it was a awesome, like, this is for me type of cry. Like, I am being seen, I am being heard, and I can do this type of cry. That sounds powerful. Yeah, it really was. My instructor was amazing. And so that's the initial training to become a doula, right? And they say, once your training is over, you can now call yourself a doula. And of course, there's some imposter syndrome there, because you're like, how? Sway? This seems like such a monumentous job. How can I possibly fill this role? It truly felt too easy. But there's lots of trainings that you take along the way. Lots of them. So like lactation trainings and postpartum doula trainings and birth trainings. And the training never ends. You're in training in every birth that you attend. You're in training in every class that you take, every mentorship. It's never ending, just learning constantly.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Laura's saying, I love that great explanation of what a doula is. Do you want the boppy?
No, he's okay.
Good. All right.
Because I'm trying to keep him asleep.
Okay. Oh my God. Having a doula is such a blessing and should be an automatic service for each and every birth. I agree. You know what someone asked before in one of the posts I had? What is the difference between a doula and a midwife?
Oh, the way I describe it is a doula does everything from the waist up, and the midwife does everything from the waist down.
Oh my God, I like that. Okay.
So we don't do medical stuff, right? Like we don't do pressure, cervical checks. We don't do perineal stretching. Okay. So I had somebody ask that, can you do the perineal stretching for me? Honey, we're not that close. Not yet.
Oh my God.
Maybe one day, but not today. God. So we don't do medical stuff. Okay. Whereas the midwife is there for the medical support of getting your baby topside.
Gotcha.
I'm there for the emotional, the physical, the educational, the advocacy. That's what I'm there for.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see if there's any more. We're gonna come back to that one. I do that one. Hey, Hope and Victory, how are you? Welcome. If you're just coming in, please remember to hit the thumbs up so other people know we're in here. And hopefully you guys will connect with Shamika on IG. I'll put her IG up again. Let me see. Coco's underscore m.brace. If you go to my IG, it's the last post. She's tagged there. You guys, that's probably the easiest way. If you follow me on IG. Positive Vibes Only says thank you. You're welcome. Thanks for being here. Course Correction says thank you for the advocacy suggestion. Okay, let's see. You're so well spoken, and I'm loving your whole energy, vibes, attitude, and knowledge. God willing, one day when it's finally my turn, I hope I can find a doula like you down here in Mississippi.
Listen, I support virtually, so I could still be a doula. I will prep everyone who's going to be in that room for you to be able to be my hands, my eyes, my ears. I got you.
Nice. Be You Now says Shamika, thank you. You are so encouraging and well spoken. Appreciate you. Yes. Good to know. Thank you, Shamika.
It's been a pleasure sharing this space with all of you.
I found it helpful telling my OB I wanted a doula, asking how he felt about doulas. I discussed with my doula the doctor concerns. Oh, good. Yeah. My doctor didn't really voice any concerns other than about a birth plan. Like, just know it's a plan. Which I already knew that, but she just wanted to reiterate, like, you might have this plan and you might have to deviate from this plan or build in your mind what your plan B is. Like, I didn't want to put it in writing because I didn't want anyone being like, oh, she's okay with the C-section, which I think they gave me a lot of leeway, and they ultimately left it up to me. I think if I would have gone longer, then they probably would have been like more, let's do this. But I was at that point like, let's just get to a C-section.
No, but your birth plan had stipulations for if a C-section was to arise. And so that's the birth plan that I try to prepare for all of my clients, that if the ideal scenario doesn't happen for me, and it has to go in a different direction.
Right.
This is still how I want it. You can still have autonomy and choice in your C-section experience.
Right.
Right. So even though it's in the birth plan, it's not telling them that I'm okay with having a C-section.
Exactly.
It's just saying I'm prepared. Right. I'm educated. You can't pull the wool over my eyes. You can't pull the okie doke and the hoodwink. Right. Like, if you're going to come to me, come correct and don't treat me like an imbecile.
Right. And I think it's important because you're so vulnerable in that moment, right? Like, legs are open. I had
you're listening to the
monitor.
Heartbeat.
Yeah, constantly that's going on. There was so much going on, and it was like so much to think about. Like, is the baby's heart rate up? Is it down? What are we gonna have to do next? Because I'm not progressing. Like,
is this too much Pitocin? Is it enough Pitocin?
Right.
What can I do to get this going? I don't have the energy to do anything else. Right. Like.
And it's like your heart and your mind are in conflict too, right? So it's like, normally I'm an intelligent person, I like to believe. But at that moment, it's like, all I'm thinking about is this baby has got to get here safely.
So that's evolution, right? That's science. That's the way it's supposed to be. And that's why it's good to have an advocate there, because your body is doing what it's supposed to do.
Right.
It's gearing up for that. Your instinct is to protect baby,
no
matter what.
Right.
So you're not thinking about yourself. You're not thinking about what the best choice could be. And so anyone can easily say, this is the best option if you want your baby to be safe. And you're going to give into it because your instincts are protect the baby at all costs.
Right.
That's what evolution has prepared you to do, to perpetuate the species. Right. But that's why you have a plan. You have a plan in place to say, this was put when I was of sound mind, body, and soul.
Right.
And I want this respected, right? All of the people in this room understand this and can and have the power to enforce it. And so you should too, right?
Yeah.
To your medical provider. And I also recommend clients to, like, take that birth plan into your OB's office and talk with them about it. When I have consultations with clients, I always give them a list of questions to talk with their providers about. And I say this is whether you hire me or not, because at the end of the day, I want you to feel safe. I want you to be protected. I want you to be able to be in the good hands. I would love for you to hire me, but take this, because
Right.
I want you to have the best footing. Like I don't know if your next doula that you do hire is going to give this to you, right?
Right.
So I want you to have this so that you can be better prepared and you can start practicing how to advocate for yourself.
Right.
I also remind them that, like, you have a baby coming and you're going to have to advocate for them, right?
Right.
This is practice.
Yes, definitely. And I know, even because you sent me the questions about the intervention, like what was going to happen. So that helped alleviate my anxiety, because like the doctor explained it to me. So it wasn't something new when I got into the room, like what the progression was going to be. And it wasn't like, I just understood it more, like what that process was going to be like. And so I don't know if I would have asked I would have asked something, but I don't know if they would have been as like targeted.
Yeah.
So that was helpful that you like talk to them about this, or what about, you know what I mean? Like that was good, because I don't do this every day, or you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I don't know.
And some of those questions you're like, I never even thought about this.
Right.
But now I do have a feeling about this.
Right. Yeah, because if I hadn't thought about it, I don't have an opinion about it necessarily. But then when you're telling me like, think about this, what about this? And I'm like, oh yeah, this, I don't know. I found that super helpful going into those. And so every visit, because I was at first going once a month, I had a list of things that I wanted to discuss, because they ask you like, what do you want to discuss? So I made sure like I took that time. I'm paying for this. So I want to make sure, instead of being like, oh, no questions, I was like, oh, and I read my chart. She was like, you're probably one of the few patients, because I would call back later, like they would be like, we discussed this so and so, like when I had to get my first NST, and I emailed the doctor like, this nurse that we discussed this, we've never discussed this, can they update the notes? And she was like, oh, it's just a template. She was like, this is a good reason why they need to review it, and blah blah blah. Or I would have questions about the polyhydramnios when I got diagnosed, like what the range was, and like how, what did it all mean? So those were good. I think like having the questions, reading my notes, like helped me partner with my doctor better on a regular basis. So let's see what else we have. Did you check your state Department of Health or a grant for doulas? Oh, that would be nice. That's me. Okay. Shar, I strive to be a well-informed and very educated patient, but as an immigrant, I deal with a lot of pushback from American healthcare providers, because that's just how things are down here. Oh, that's arrogant. They don't explain it. Do you see that? Do you have
a lot of times?
Okay.
I feel like we're in a beneficial place living in New York, but I'm hearing like there's a lot of disrespect in the South, unfortunately. If that's where she's talking about, unless she's talking about in Jamaica. Is Char the one that's in Jamaica?
She's in Florida. She said Florida. Originally from Jamaica, but Florida's the South.
Yeah, so unfortunately in Florida, first of all, you got a brown face, so they ain't gonna respect that. That's first off, right? They're gonna automatically treat you like you're ignorant if they hear an accent. It's a lot of prejudices, unfortunately, in the South, and they got a long way to go. Listen, I'm the type to be like, get on a plane, fly to New York.
Oh my God. It's expensive here, though. There. Oh my God.
Have your baby in New York. Go to a city hospital.
When I saw that hospital bill, I was like, what? Oh my God. That's what?
Or hire a doula, right? Yeah. Like there's doulas in every state. I promise you. There's doulas in every state. You can start by getting on Facebook and going to doulas in Florida doulas, right? Start there. Google that. Or midwives. Even if you don't have any intentions of hiring a midwife, you can still pick the brain of a midwife and be like, this is what I want. Can you steer me in the right direction? They will help you, because a midwife's goal is for you to have a safe and healthy delivery of your baby.
Okay, that makes sense. Laura said that old school training for doulas, I'm sure it was on the job training, just like it used to be for doctors and nurses, and that type of training can be invaluable, but it's so much better with schooling. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Shar, the majority of my time is spent fighting back to ensure I receive adequate care or shopping around to find competent, compassionate providers. It's taxing but necessary. Yes. And I would say that is even not just in the South, but I had to do that. I mean, you guys know I had 3 different doctors, fertility doctors. Some doctors don't want to partner with you. I don't know if it's necessarily about race or accent or not, but I feel like some doctors are just like have that God complex, and they're
Yeah,
like, "This
I
is what you're
know.
gonna do."
Mm-hmm.
Like my very first RE, and so definitely steer clear of those. Like when people are always like, "Well, what would you ask the doctor?" I think asking about partnering, but also listening to how they respond to you. Like if it feels like their answer is just like rote, like they have it memorized and say it to everyone, like you
Mm-hmm.
don't want that doctor. But then ask them specific questions about you and see how they respond.
Yeah.
Because you want them to partner with you. You know what I mean? And so yeah, the ones who just kind of talk down and I don't want to have to fight with my doctor. Do you know what I
Also,
mean?
yeah, and also look out for the patient advocates in the hospital. It doesn't have to be labor and delivery related, but just whoever is responsible for customer support, right? Customer relations.
Right.
Get in contact with them and write them that lengthy email, the op-ed, the Google review, like this hospital X, Y, and Z, blah 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 blah. More people complain, they'll get it together. They have no choice.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And I know for me, it was important to have, I mean, Black people supported me. Like that was important to me. And I would say the whole team, so Shamika, Dr. Thornton, and Dr. McConnell are all Black. My acupuncturist is not, but I love her to pieces. She's female, which was important. Like yeah, well, I'm not
You
going to get
wanted
into
to
that.
see yourself in the
Right.
people who were caring for you in
Right.
any shape, form,
Yeah.
right? Definitely not man, definitely not white.
Right.
Fit some type of descriptor that matches
Yes.
who you are.
Yeah.
Because there's empathy there.
Exactly. Because Dr. Thornton is a male, but he is Black. So that, I don't know. It was just, that was a thing for me. I just felt like that was one less hurdle. Not to say that, you know, a white man wouldn't have. I just didn't want to go through that. I didn't want to jump through that hoop. So that helped. Like, whatever it is, like maybe you want somebody who's LGBTQ, maybe you want to have a man, like whatever it is, definitely have a list of like when you're looking for your support people, doctor, doula, like what is it? And I think there was a questionnaire first before like I was matched with people to meet with doulas to meet, or like, so I just think that's something to like think about who you want in the room with you, because they are seeing all your bits and bobs and at your most vulnerable, you know, like what does that look like for you? So yeah, I'm sorry, Shar, that you are having to find. I'm glad that you are able to do that, but I hope that you're able to find providers that are willing to partner with you. Yes, Shar, I hear you and feel you. Stay strong and continue the good fight, because you will always be your own best advocate. Absolutely. And I will say, like, that was my criteria. But again, like with my acupuncturist, she was a woman. And so that was sufficient. Like I vibed with her so well. Like her energy was so, like, I was just like, yeah, of course. You know what I mean?
You know
like,
that with every prick she gives you, there's good vibes.
Right.
Good intentions going in that.
Right.
And that's beneficial.
And I think also for all of my providers, I always have a question. I can't give you an example off the top of my head, but I want to test if they're going to respect my boundaries, because sometimes people will try to push you into something or talk you into something. And so I don't want to be like in labor and having my boundaries tested. You know what I mean? Like I want to make sure we're on the same page. And so
test them early.
Yes. Yeah. You have to make sure, like if you tell someone no, they understand no, or if you give a line in the sand that they don't cross that line. I can't think of a specific example right now, but just I know when
like
people
going over your birth plan.
Right.
Right. If you go over your birth plan with your doctor and they're already giving you pushback, you know, okay, I may need my sword and shield for this, because if this is something that I really want, I'm gonna have to fight for it.
Right.
And I tell clients that all the time, right? Like in that hospital, they're not very keen on doing X, Y, and Z.
Right.
But if this is what you want to do, I'm gonna roll with you. We're gonna do it. But just be ready. We're gonna have to fight.
Right.
And if they're okay with that, then they're okay with that, right?
Right.
And I give up the support person, right? Like we're gonna need you to fight harder, because that the birthing person may not have it in them
to do it. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So like show up.
Right.
And sometimes I have to tell them, I can't fight something that you're not willing to fight.
Right. Right.
Like I can't do that.
Right. That makes sense. What if they change their mind, or they're just like, I don't want to fight for it anymore? Do you just check in with them and be like, are you sure? Because I can help you with this, or are you really willing? Like, how do you manage through that?
Similar to what you said, right? Like reminding them of why it was important, right? Like why they wanted to do it in the first place. And when they say, I'm okay, I don't want to deal with that anymore, I'm done, then you let it go.
Okay.
Because you can't force it on anybody,
Right.
right? Especially like child labor is exhausting, right? So
Yes.
like by then you're just like, oh my God, I just want everybody to just leave me alone and give me my baby, right? So like you got to honor that. You got to respect that.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Is that you mentioned the hospital? You'll tell people about like what happens at this hospital. Is that something we should ask when we talk to like our doula? Like what hospital, or say this is where I'm delivering? Have you worked in this hospital?
Have a conversation with them, and even if they haven't worked in that hospital before, it's not a direct reflection of whether or not they can support you. It's just they may not have the information at the time. But a good doula will look for it for you, right? Like they will reach out to their network and be like, "Put me on. What can I expect at this hospital?" And they should come back to you with that.
Good. Okay. Shar says, thank you, ladies. I might come home and cry for a little bit, but I get right back out hiring and firing till I'm satisfied. Absolutely. I'm dealing with someone worth my time and my motherfucking copay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's right. Okay. Shamika and I were pregnant at the same time, and I was there when she went to the hospital. Wait, who?
Oh, that's my girlfriend. Hi, Maria.
Oh my God. I'm like, wait.
Yo, oh my gosh, she was pregnant a couple months after me. Like we were like 2 months apart from each other. And I'm in labor, giving birth to my middle son, Logan.
Okay.
Don't you know this girl had to go to the emergency room after she left me because she was having contractions herself?
Oh my God. She said she's going to need you in November. Come to Florida.
Oh, come on, girl. Let me know.
Oh my God.
She expected a grandbaby.
Okay. Yeah, that's what she was saying. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Sugar Bear. Yes. She's the only other person besides me who can get him to go to sleep. Like Cheyenne tries to hold him and he is not for it. Shamika, what area are you available for face-to-face service?
Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens, Staten Island. I could come to Jersey if you're willing to pay for transportation. I mean, I could go anywhere as long as you're willing to pay for transportation. That's the tricky part. I don't own a car, so that's I'm not there yet. Enough money goes into that Cash App. Maybe one day I will.
Oh my God.
But that's a future goal, right? Right now, the goal is to build the business. So, yeah, I do Southern Westchester County, Mid Westchester County, Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, 5 boroughs.
Okay. Moonlight. Hello. I don't know if anyone has asked, but if you hire a midwife, should you still hire a doula? Do you need both?
Absolutely. The midwife is a reminder. The midwife just does the medical portion of it, right? The doula helps you navigate everything. So the doula is the one you call when you're like, I'm having contractions, I don't know what to do, or I'm feeling faint, or the midwife said X, Y, and Z, or I'm thinking about this bottle, what do you think, right? Or I'm planning my baby shower, do you have an idea of any games? Or, this is the stuff that I want to have in my nursery. A doula is there to support you. Like the midwife comes when it's time to push the baby out. The doula is there every minute before that.
What about home births? Do you do home births?
I would love to do a home birth. I haven't yet.
Okay.
I haven't yet. But that's just another check that I would like to have.
There you go. Okay. I'm gonna just go on the Instagram and see if there's any questions there. Uh-oh. Hold on. No. Okay. We're good there. I feel like singing Tanika and Shamika sitting on a tree. ADVOCA.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Advocacy. I like that. Yay. It's all about information, right? Knowledge is power. Okay, let's see.
And you want to have somebody knowledgeable by your side in case you don't have the knowledge or you don't have the energy to fight for it.
Definitely. Maria said there's very few doulas in Florida. Laura, Tanika, you were the first person I've ever heard say no is a full sentence, and that really resonated with a people pleaser. Like, I'm a reformed people pleaser, yes. No one should have boundaries being checked while so vulnerable. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That is a good example too of people who don't understand boundaries. If you tell them no and they are like, why? But I want to do this, or you should do this. Like, that is crossing a boundary. You said no.
Mm-hmm.
No means no.
But truthfully, people will respect your boundaries if you respect your own.
Right.
Right? You can lay down the boundary, but if you cross the boundary yourself, they're not going to respect the boundary.
Right. That's
Once
true.
you check them, they are much better at like respecting your boundaries.
Right. Yeah, I'm a reformed people pleaser, but yeah, totally. Okay, let's see. Hi everyone. Yes, you're here. Oh wait, there's a Shamika. Hey Shamika, staying positive. How you doing, sis? You're here. You can watch on the replay too. Albany, do you go to Albany?
I would if you could cover the travel.
Albany is way up there. Would you take the Metro North or you have to drive?
I think you would have to drive
Okay.
or take like an airplane.
Okay.
Maybe a train. I have no idea.
Someone's asking about Westchester.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely Westchester.
Okay. All right, so those are all the questions. And then I want to go over this other one, but this is a trigger warning. So I just want to say, anybody who's pregnant, you probably want to leave the chat now. Thank you for joining because I don't want to traumatize anyone. It is going to be talking about infant loss. So if you have to go, we understand. But I do want to touch on it because we were talking about it earlier and it's horrible. It's horrible. So I'm just going to give people a few seconds. We have 46 in. If anybody wants to pop out. Okay. So did Shamika hear about the recent case with the doctor ripping out a baby too hard? So I think you're talking about the case in the South where they decapitated the baby. It was a shoulder dystocia. And yeah, they pulled the baby apart into two, like literally decapitated the baby. And I know when I saw it, the lawyer was saying the mother had delivered via C-section and had to deliver the head vaginally, which is horrific. It was a Black doctor, Black couple, and they didn't tell them. Like, they tried to cover it up. So that was
The hardest part for me was the Black professional doing that to this Black family. And it just shows you, unfortunately, how that systemic racism perpetuates itself in the South, in that there's so much of self-preservation that the humanity is not respected, right? Like, you could say, I made this mistake and there's malpractice and whatever, you let the chips fall where they may. But to try and like fake it, glue the baby's head back on the low,
right,
do a lot of coercion to cover it up, and then all the other people involved with it, the nurses, the anesthesiologists, ain't no way they didn't know about it. And for me, that's the hardest part. For me, it's like everybody just like being like, this family is not worthy of the truth.
Which is crazy. I'm going to pull it up for you guys really fast, for those of you guys who don't know.
And there's two types of decapitation. There's internal decapitation and there's full detachment decapitation. And I didn't know that it was a full-on decapitation. I thought it was just when they was trying to deliver the baby, that they pulled the head and it just severed the spine. But to hear that the one part of the baby was born one way and the other baby was born the other way, ain't no magic trick in the world can make that happen.
Right.
Without some trauma.
And it's like, how hard were you pulling? Like, that just scares me all the way. I'm going to share. Hang on, guys.
This is also why it's so important that, like, you advocate for birthing in different positions. Doctors love to have you birthing on your back because that's the only way that they know. But if you take childbirth education classes, you learn about spinning babies. There's ways to deal with a shoulder dystocia, right? There's ways to deal with it without the loss of life. And those are some of the things that, like, you can advocate your doctors being like, what are your plans if this baby is OP? What are your plans if this baby is shoulder dystocia?
What's OP?
What are you going to do? So OP is occiput posterior, and that means the baby's spine is up against your spine. It should be the other way
sunny
around.
Side up.
Yes,
okay.
Sunny side up, right? And so a lot of OP babies are born via C-section because the baby is not in an optimal position to come out the birth canal. But if you have a medical provider that's like, I can spin this baby into place. I can help you do that. That doctor should give you more confidence. But if the doctor's like, oh, don't worry about it, we'll just have a C-section, find another doctor, please.
Right. Right. So this is the couple on here. This is the young lady. This is the mom, and then this is the dad. I don't. You can't see my cursor, but the two people on the right there, and I believe that's their attorney. So a Georgia couple filed a lawsuit this week against a doctor, hospital, and nurses involved in the delivery of their first child. Because everybody had to be in on it, right? Everybody who was in that operating room had to know. It's not just the doctor, because you had to see the baby's head separated from the body. Claiming that an obstetrician had used too much force during the procedure, resulting in the decapitation and death of their baby. The complaint, filed Wednesday in Clayton County State Court, also alleged that unnamed staff members at the hospital, Southern Regional Medical Center in Riverdale, Georgia, about 13 minutes south of downtown Atlanta, had tried to conceal from the couple that their son had been decapitated and discouraged them from seeking an autopsy. Their dreams and hopes turned into a nightmare, Corey Lynch, a lawyer for the couple, said at a news conference in Atlanta. According to the suit, the obstetrician, Dr. Tracy St. Julian, applied excessive force on the baby's neck and head during an attempted vaginal delivery in early July, separating the head from the body. Yeah, so it was just crazy. For several, what was it? Roderick Edmond, a lawyer for the couple who is also a physician, said in a phone interview that Miss Ross had pushed for several hours, but the baby could not properly descend the vaginal canal because of a condition called shoulder dystocia, which results in a baby's shoulder getting stuck. Most shoulder dystocia cases are relieved without injury to the fetus. Dr. St. Julian did not use proper maneuvers to relieve the shoulder dystocia and applied excessive traction, says Dr. Edmond. He said that she had also failed to call for additional help and perform an emergency cesarean section in a timely manner. The baby's legs and torso were delivered through cesarean section, an incision in the uterus, you guys know what that is, after making multiple attempts. The baby's head was then delivered vaginally. Can you guys imagine? Like, oh my God, this baby would not have been injured at all if they had called a stat C-section at the proper time, referring to an emergency cesarean birth that is not previously scheduled. The police department said in a statement that it had opened a preliminary investigation into the death of the infant. Okay, all of that. I'll put the link in the description box, so if you guys want to read the whole thing later. But that is bananas. You want me to take him? Hello, Sugar Bear. What's going on? You stretching? Yes. Where am I? You remember where you are? And you're like, what's going on?
Let me see, Mommy.
Oh my God. Hello, honey. He's like, hi, Shamika. Hello. Okay. So yeah, that was like a crazy but I feel like if there had been a doula there, they wouldn't have been able to do that. Like yanking and not calling for a C-section. Yeah. Cause oh my God, yeah, that's just oof. So let's say a little prayer for that family because I can't even imagine like what they're going through right now. Okay, it is 1:32. Are there any other questions? I'm going to try to wrap this up by 1:45, just so we're respectful of Shamika's time. If you have any other questions, drop them in the chat. Yeah, that is sad. It's like, oh, yeah.
Don't hold that trauma in your hearts, though, right?
Right.
Say a prayer for this family and let it go. And do not share it with anyone pregnant that you know of, please.
Yeah, please don't. Oh, my God. That was the one thing people kept wanting to tell me horror stories when I was pregnant. I was like, don't do that. Like, wait till I have the baby. Yeah. Boundaries. The hospital is now claiming the baby passed away in utero. The baby's head came off in utero all by itself. No.
If the baby passed away in utero, my question is, and I don't know the answer to this, but my question is, are they obligated to tell the family this?
Why wouldn't they be? I think they are, right? Like,
yeah, in the moment that it happens.
Do no harm. That's their...
Yeah. Why continue to deliver vaginally a baby that passed away in utero? Do a cesarean, or give the parents
the
choice.
Option. Yeah. Yeah, because you would have to see
because the issue
the heartbeat
is,
and everything else. She would have been on a monitor.
The issue too is when you're delivering via vaginally, right? The baby is also an active participant in this.
Right.
The baby is turning and moving, and so how possible is it to deliver a baby that has passed? I don't know. Okay. I don't have that medical expertise, so it might be in their benefit to have a C-section.
Right.
But they should at the very least know what's going on.
I know there are some women who have passed, because I watch this or listen to watch whatever on YouTube, a podcast called Still a Part of Us, where they have stillborn babies. So they are able to push them out, but they know well in advance, and they are given that option. Yeah. It's always recommended to them to try to do the vaginal just for less recovery time. Yeah. But for that woman to have a vaginal and a cesarean, like, that's the worst case scenario. Yeah. And I don't know, it just seems all unethical, so unethical. And for everybody in the room to, like, not say anything. Yeah. Because you mentioned earlier when we were talking about it that they probably put her to sleep. I hadn't thought about that, because I was thinking of my cesarean, like, how did she not know? But yeah, it just is horrible. Usually emergency cesareans, if there's no epidural. Well, the question is, was there an epidural in place? Because if an epidural was already in place, they wouldn't have had to put her to sleep. Okay. Right? So did they put her to sleep even when they wasn't supposed to, or they didn't have to? Okay. Right? But the only way that something like that could happen without the mom knowing is she had to be, I mean, maybe not. Let's break this apart, right? Because if the screen is up, right? Mm-hmm. She can't see what's going on the other side of the screen. But she would feel the vaginal part. So that's what I'm thinking. She had to be well, when they're doing a C-section, could you feel your vagina? No, I couldn't feel anything. You're right. I could only actually feel my shoulders. Yeah, you can't feel nothing. So that's got to be even worse. But I feel like if she were awake, the father would have been in there. He would have seen. Should be in the room, and he should have been aware of what was going on. But, like, there's a lot of unanswered questions. Yeah, Shar saying, looking at the stature of the mom and the size of the baby, they should have been on alert for shoulder dystocia. It's crazy. Yeah, I originally thought they were referring to internal decapitation too, Shar, because of, that's what until the lawyer said that part. There's also a lady I follow on here. She is alive, thank God, but she had an internal decapitation from a motorcycle accident, but she lived. Like, there's some parameters, like 7 points. Yeah. I mean, obviously she's impacted by it, but she still has some mobility. But yeah, she ran into a guardrail. You want to come over here? You want to come over here? Yes. You want to say hi to the people? You say hi? Hello. Hello. Okay, let's see. Okay. Just hopped on. Let me catch up. Hey T, glad you made it. You can do the replay. Do you have any questions? Let us know. I made it. Thank you for the blue heart. Yes. I definitely am no longer on the fence about getting a doula. Oh goodness. Well, we don't want to scare you. I just be informed. Poor young couple. I hope they sue the pants off that hospital. No, I think she's saying she's not doubting whether or not she could. She should get it. Okay. She feels like she definitely should get it. Gotcha. Doula. Okay. Every medical license revoked. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard about it last night. That was just like, just mind boggling. Like, how could that happen? You want Shamika back? Can you say hi? Hey, my buddy. You want to go back over there? Hey, my buddy. Hey, my buddy. Hi, buddy. You want to play musical mommies. Oh, my God. It's so funny. Run from person. Okay, so I think that is all of the questions. Isaiah says, hi, Sugar Bear. That I see on here. Thank you guys so much for joining. We are going to film my birth story. It'll be interesting to hear the perspective of a doula, I think. And there are some things that she'll remember that I don't remember. I know you were taking notes and you text them to me. So sometimes I look at them, I'm like, I don't remember that. But yeah, that's why it's good. Like, it's just all a blur. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Replay crew. Drop a blue heart in below if you are interested in donating. Let me put that back up on the screen.
I definitely appreciate everyone's time and watching this. It felt really good doing it. Speaking to you, I was very nervous. I told Tanika, like, you're going to have to help me because this is scary.
She's a natural. I was like, just
really
be
good.
yourself. Like, yeah. So we're glad that you came on to do it. We appreciate your time. All right, everybody. We will talk to you later. Baby does to us all. I'm gonna do the outro. I'll still read the comments if anybody is on there, but we will talk to you later. Boop, boop, boop. There we go.